What led to the end of the India-China standoff in Ladakh? Beijing today was very vague about it in their daily Foreign Office briefing, not even confirming on record if their troops had indeed moved back. While officially India too has not said anything on the details, government sources say that while India has not agreed to any deal, it has stopped construction of bunkers in a disputed area, something which sources say India shouldn't have done in the first place because it violates a border pact with the Chinese. This, coupled with a threat to cancel Salman Khurshid's visit to China this week and then possibly the visit of the new Chinese premier to India later this month, finally ended the crisis. Sudhi Ranjan Sen has more on that story now. Sudhi, tell us the details. Everyone wants to know the backstory, and I know it's been really difficult to get all the details on this rather sensitive story. What do you know?
Well, Nidhi, the facts that we know is that one, of course, the threat to let slide the relationship between India and China was one of the biggest trump cards that India used, because mind you, the Chinese economy is not doing as well it's supposed to be doing. Europe is not doing well, America is not doing well. They're looking at avenues to increase their investments, looking at markets, and who better else than India? Also, there is the other thing, that is a Chumar sector. What we are being told is that Chumar is a contested area. Both sides claim Chumar to be their area. Both sides patrol it. However, what our sources are indicating and telling us is since April, apparently the Indian Army was trying to construct as many as 7 bunkers in that area. 1 bunker, we are told, has been constructed. The earthwork of the rest 4 are done. This perhaps was the reason why, one of the reasons perhaps is, what triggered this crisis. And this is what India has said that, well, I mean, yes, it is contested. Okay, fine, we will stop the construction there for the time being. Mind you, this is not a concession because we were not supposed to go and build in that area. Also, what we are being told is that there was very aggressive patrolling in the Chumar sector as well as in some of the other sectors. But why Chumar is important is the way we were patrolling in that area. The Chinese patrol which comes in, just as we go into what we perceive our territory, the Chinese also come into what they perceive their territory to patrol. The Chinese patrols were not being able to come in. And this is exactly what happened when they came and set up base in Rakhi Nala. Once they set up base in Rakhi Nala, it prevented us from going and patrolling areas beyond Rakhi Nala, which we consider our territory, and we used to patrol. Nidhi.
All right, Sudhi Ranjan Sen, thanks very much for that. And we're hearing from our sources also, as Sudhi was mentioning there, the kind of tough diplomatic stand that India also took. One of the things sources told us today is that India threatened Beijing that it was ready to sink the relationship, quote unquote, according to one official, if it came to that. So as this standoff ends, the question is this a diplomatic victory for India, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Because everyone loves a conspiracy theory. Ajay Shukla, the editor, Strategic Affairs of the Business Standard, is with us tonight. We also have the former Chief of Army Staff, General Shankar Rai Chaudhary, joining us tonight from Kolkata. And of course, our guests from the BJP and Congress stay with us. Let me first ask Ajay though, was this bloody good diplomacy or more to it than meets the eye?
Well, from what I understand, and I'm speaking to people in government, it was a very careful game plan that was being played by the army on the ground and the diplomats here and in Beijing. There was very careful coordination, very good calibration, and that was something which was not happening on the Chinese side from what I understand. The People's Liberation Army, people who were there on the ground, who were controlling this incursion and so on, were not in day-to-day touch and in regular touch and were not briefing their diplomats properly. So what ended up happening was that the Chinese side ended up being surprised at the strength of the Indian response 20 days into the incursion. They were not prepared for the fact that the Indian media was playing up this entire episode, that public opinion was coalescing behind the government, that this response was becoming stronger rather than weaker. So the Chinese appear to have miscalculated and decided to back off.
So a victory for Indian diplomacy, bottom line, as far as
as a bottom line, it appears to be a victory for Indian diplomacy because no significant concessions have been made at all from the Indian side. The Chinese have upstuck and left, and from what I understand, that sector remains very much what it was before they came in.
I just want to ask you though, Ajay, very, very quickly on the Chinese briefing today, because you've been a journalist as well and you understand how these briefings take place. Very vague briefing today. In fact, they seem to be speaking in riddles, not really confirming whether whether there has been an end to this standoff firstly, whether their troops have pulled back from these positions. Are we reading too much into that, or is that just the Chinese style? What would you read into it?
It is the Chinese style on this particular case, because from the beginning, you would recall from the April 23rd briefing that the foreign ministry spokesperson sort of spoke about this incursion. They've been completely downplaying it. They've not wanted to get themselves hamstrung by a coalescing of Chinese public opinion and Chinese sort of blogosphere
and public
opinion.
statements.
Yeah, they wanted to keep their hands free. So the foreign ministry spokesperson in China has been uniformly downplaying this thing, and today is only a continuation of that.
You say so much when you say nothing at all. Isn't there a song like that? General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, what's your take, sir? As a former army chief, you know this area well, you know this subject well. Do you believe that this has really genuinely been a victory for India's diplomats today, or do you fear that there has been some kind of secret deal, that there's more to this story than we know?
No, I think the whole thing is very bizarre. That's the only word I'd like to use for it. I really don't know what the whole issue is, because there is, as more and more details come out, the whole thing appears, to repeat my earlier statement, quite bizarre. Because who went first? Did we go first? Was it a disputed area? What was the Chinese reaction? All these things build up later. But the important thing is, what is the overall effect on world opinion and public opinion? Does India come out of it looking the superior power, which has put China in its place, or does China still maintain the same aura of menace it has tried to put across ever since 1962? I think my choice goes for the fact that India has, what shall I say, performed better. The impression about India, such of it as it's known, because people in India forget about the world. People in India don't know much about it, and I don't think they care much about it. So it's quite a sideshow as far as public opinion is concerned. Yes, if we've come well out of it, it's excellent. And perhaps in future these things will not happen.